The Nigerian government has responded to Transparency International over its recent Corruption Perception Index, which placed Nigeria 149 out of the 180 countries surveyed, saying the administration deserves credit for diminishing corruption in the public service and will continue to vigorously support prevention, enforcement, public education and enlightenment activities of anti-corruption agencies. The new data shows that Nigeria has dropped 3 places and scored lower in number of points than in the previous year's record. It suggested that the country's corruption situation had worsened. Here to speak on this is the head of Transparency International, AUWAL, RAFSANJANI. Glad to have you, AUWAL.
Morning and good morning, viewers.
Good morning. Good. Now, the presidency feels that your organization never gives it credit for its achievements in this area of fight against corruption, and that your report is not an accurate portrayal of the facts on the ground. What's your sense of what the presidency is saying?
First and foremost, we are not politicians. We are, human rights, anti-corruption, social justice, and we are not going to join issue with the people who appears to be, benefiting from a corrupt system. Mm-hmm. The issue is that Nigerians, they don't need Transparency International to tell them that this corruption is everywhere, and Nigerians are facing it and suffering the consequences of corruption. Transparency International, come up with this report because many countries dropping in terms of Africa. No government had come to abuse us, to insult us, but many governments are willing to sit down to say, look, let us block the leakages. Let us see how we can address the problem that we have. But it's only in Nigeria, some people who appears in Nigeria that are depending what Nigerians are suffering from, and actually provoking the Nigerians by dismissing the fact that this corruption is happening and contradicting themselves, because the government of President Buhari, one of corruption. And if you are actually going to fight corruption, you need to work with different stakeholders that can help you achieve that. And in the case of Nigeria and Nigerian officials, there is no that kind of even effort to say, okay, let us work together to support the effort that we in Nigeria are making every effort to support the Nigerian government to understand and deal with corruption in a manner that Nigerian will see that fighting corruption is really real. But it stopped at campaign, and it is issue concerning corruption, then you become an enemy, then they start naming calling. So what I'm trying to say is that Nigerian government itself, its own institutions, National Bureau of Statistics conducted survey with UNODC and showed CPC recently conducted survey to show prevalence of corruption in Nigeria. In fact, even the government itself, it suspended the former acting EFCC because of allegation of corruption or unable to account. Look at the drama in the National Assembly. Every now and then, people will come to testify how they have stolen or diverted public taxpayers' money. So corruption is everywhere. To get passport now, you need to pay bribe. Nigerians abroad are crying everywhere in Nigerian that you have. Nigerians are stranded and complaining, are suffering from the extortion. In Nigeria here, a lot of people who want to get a job, you have to pay for the job. If you want to get legitimate, promotion, which you are due for, you have to pay bribe. To get here, you have to pay bribe. Appointment to be confirmed, you have to pay, legislators to confirm you. Everywhere, every part of our life is shredded with the corruption. So for any spokesperson to come and dismiss this, actually is undermining even the government. So if I were Buhari, I would have fired some of those people because they did not mean well for him, because they are actually instigating Nigerians against him, because they are showing that corruption is comfortably okay, so we should not fight corruption. That is not what I understand that the government said they want to do. So some of these spokespersons, they are probably benefiting from the wrong thing that is happening in the country. That is why they would come and make this glaring disclaimer. Nigerians are facing corruption on daily basis. To get admission in the school, corruption, you have to pay a bribe. To even pass the exam, you have to pay a bribe. Police,
RAFSANJANI, RAFSANJANI,
everywhere.
yeah. Let's
well,
try
okay.
and be a bit objective now. How did Nigeria score 25 out of 100 points? What parameters were used?
Okay, like every organization, every institution has its own methodology of conducting a research. Okay, so in the case of Nigeria, there are reputable organizations that even Nigerian government itself, they are part and parcel of those organizations that actually carry out this survey. And what Transparency International does was just simply to compute this survey done by this reputable organization. For example, World Bank country policy and institutional assessment. Nigeria is part of the World Bank. World Economic Forum Executive Opinion Survey. Nigeria is part of this. Then we have, World Justice Project, Rule of Law Index. You also have varieties of democracy project, which looks at how democracy operates in Nigeria, the political corruption, how election is done and rigged. These are the various institutions that are, conducting this survey. So what Transparency International does is to get all these sources. In the case of Nigeria, 8 of these sources were compiled, and what we do is to say, okay, after getting all this, report from these various, respected, globally accepted institutions, then we put it as an aggregate. Okay, then the CPI also produces 2 actually numbers. One, is the score from 0 to 100, and then the ranking also, it shows the country position where it's where a country belong to. This is how we actually rank or score country. So if a country has a scale of 0 to 100, then the higher point you have, then the country will be like a free or will have more favorable results, like we've seen with Denmark. In this survey that we have done, even America has dropped, but American government did not abuse us, did not condemn us. What they do usually all over the world, they welcome this as a way of improving their own situation. But in the case of Nigeria, it's outright denial. Meanwhile, Nigerians are facing this crisis. So you don't even need
All right.
Transparency International to
Awal,
do that.
Awal, we're going to keep you on pause. Let me now ask this question. I have a question for you based on what you're talking about. But we're going to keep you on pause. So we'll get back. We'll continue with you. Don't go away. All right, glad to have you back. We still have the head of Transparency International, AUWAL, Mr. RAFSANJANI, addressing the issues of their rating concerning the government of Nigeria on corruption, and of course the government's reply to TI, Transparency International. Yes, based on what you are taking, I'll take you up on that. Now, the presidency says that in analyzing your data, it says analyzing your data because according to you, you do not gather your own data. And that's what you are pointing out there. Doesn't that show that your data is flawed? How do you've talked about gathering them, but that's where the presidency seems to have an angst against you, that your data may be flawed because you don't gather your own data by yourself.
Excuses that dishonest and insincere and unwilling people that are not interested to fix problem. Like I mentioned, ICPC conducted survey to show the prevalence of corruption in Nigeria. Bureau of Public Statistics, they carry out research to show prevalence of corruption in Nigeria. National Assembly has been conducting public hearing to expose corruption in Nigeria. Even the government itself, it sacked or suspended, the former acting chair of EFCC because of allegation of, corruption. And so many, things are happening in the country. Nigerians are facing it. People have stolen the palliative. People have, done all sorts of things. And you did not need, like I said, Transparency International to tell you these problems are in existence. Now, secondly, these sources that we mentioned, Nigeria is part and parcel of some of these organizations which I had mentioned to you. So invariably, Nigeria is disowning itself because they are part of the World Bank, okay? And when World Bank carry out a survey, Nigeria being a member of the World Bank, invariably Nigeria is part of that survey. So it's not even us. It is not us. It is groups, some of the groups that Nigerian government is even a member, of those, institutions. Secondly, nobody in the world have reputed, this. Only people who are very dishonest and who are interested in continuation of corruption in Nigeria, that find themselves, in government, that are justifying the state of corruption in Nigeria, saying that it is not a problem. What is the problem of this ranking or scoring? The issue is to motivate you and encourage you to fix problem where you have. We have gaps in the way and manner in which anti-corruption is being put in this country. And this report is telling you that block these leakages. There are so many gaps. Corruption in the procurement is happening. Even as I speak to you now, after we have struggled to make sure that assets that have been stolen are recovered from, abroad. When we put all those things to get the money back, now to appoint consultant that will even monitor how to, spend the money, corruption still, is happening in appointing the consultant that will do that. As I speak to you now, Nigeria has been taken to court by those other consultants who felt that they came first, second, third, but because of corruption, they are now being given to the group that came fourth. This is part of the problem that we are talking about. Look at the corruption in the security sector that led us to the wide range of kidnapping, insecurity, banditry, and all sorts of criminality that we are facing because of the corruption in the security sector. Look at the fact that the whole NSAS protest was motivated, by the extortion that the police are doing, even though we are happy to see that, the police response unit, under the new, Police Amendment Act, has given the power to have this response unit across 36 states in the federation where complaints can be lodged, So the thing is that instead of dismissing this, which you are actually provoking Nigerians, the more you dismiss this, you are provoking Nigerians, and you are actually even betraying your own commitment to fight corruption. All you need to do is to say, okay, we have challenges, X, Y, Z. For example, in terms of legal framework, you still have areas where we need to have legislation. For example, whistleblowing protection. There's no way you can fight corruption without whistleblowing regime. Secondly, there's no way you can continue to do assets recovery without legal framework that will guide you on how to manage recovered asset. We have recovered so much asset domestically: gold, jewelry, cash, cars, estate, houses, plots, all those things. Nobody can give you account on where those things are. So yesterday looters have looted, today looters are looting. So we need to have a legal framework. Secondly, you have laws like freedom of information, like fiscal responsibility, that are not being respected. The public procurement law is being disregarded. So this report is telling you that you need to ensure that all these laws that you have that can help fight against corruption are complied with and respected. Again, can government of Nigeria, can the spokesperson of Nigerian government say that he can defend the corruption in local government, in all the local government in Nigeria, the corruption in all the 36 states in Nigeria. Look, people need to be, responsible when they even want to do.
Yeah, AUWAL, it's good you mentioned the World Bank. You see, Nigeria currently is in a recession, and whilst the government is optimistic of a quick recovery, the World Bank has warned that the country could enter its deepest recession since the 1980s. Can this be averted?
Well, the thing is that if the government is even serious, if the spokesperson of the government is serious, he could have also dismissed the World Bank, statement on the fact that Nigeria may enter recession, because these are obvious, these are facts. There's no way with outright looting and stealing and diversion of public funds that we are seeing in this country. There's no way Nigeria will not be a recession. We are already in recession, and we are entering another recession. So the issue is that when there are problems, you need to address it. Now, as I speak to you now, Nigerian government did not have economic management team that can actually even help get us out of the recession. After so much, criticism, the president last year appointed, advisors on the economy. And there's a difference between advisors on, the economy and economic management team who have the mandate, who have the institutional mandate to be able to bring policies and programs that can help the economy.
We do have the economic team that's headed by the vice president. I'm sure you're aware of that, aside the advisors. But let me take you on something else. Let's see. The government says it's ready to learn from its mistakes. That's the government speaking. But that the economy of Nigeria is bigger than the ports and businesses with transparency issues, from where 60% of your data in 2019 came. Briefly, AUWAL.
This is also another mischievous assertion. Go and check. Transparency International did not talk about the Port Authority or 60% of. These are part of the calculated attempt to divert attention, and to also focus and do the right things. Look, like I mentioned, if we are honest and sincere, like we've seen other countries, including African countries, when we come up with this report, what do? They take the report, they study it, they see where are the gaps, what are the lapses, not to come and start doing campaign and propaganda and dismissing and threatening people for telling you that what Nigerians are going through. Why are we in poverty? Nigeria is the world capital of poverty. Why is it? It is because of corruption. Where are we in the insurgency and insecurity in the country? It is because of corruption. The use of security boards by all the governors and even the federal government, and even local government. If you are using that security board, you would have been able to mitigate and at least help to deal with issues of insecurity. But it is a money that is being, spent, no accountability on it. And look at the Auditor General report indicting virtually every government offices. This is a government office. It's not TI. It's not CISLAC. It's not me that is talking about. It is the Auditor General of the federal government stating how agencies are collecting money without accountability. What we are saying is that this corruption is...
We will leave it there. That's all the time we have. Thank you, AUWAL RAFSANJANI, for your time on The Morning Show.